नमो विष्णुपदाय कृष्णप्रेष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमते भक्तिवेदांत स्वामिनिति नामिने नमस्ते सारस्वती देवे गौरवाणी प्रचारिणे निर्विशेष शून्यवादी पाश्चात्य देशतारिणे जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर शिवासादि गौर भक्तवृंद हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे. So thank you all very much for joining today's session. So we have been discussing from the book Manasiksha. So we were discussing from the 5th verse. As we discussed last few times, the first verse actually speaks about what should we do if we want to establish a relationship with Krishna. For that, we will have to establish a relationship with those things connected with Krishna, which are the 8 things that we saw: Gurau, Goshte, Goshtala, Ishu, and so on. But in order to establish that relationship, we face obstacles in the form of our material upadhis, which is addressed here as dambam. So one has to overcome this dambam, which will, how to overcome this dambam, what constitutes this dambam. It's discussed from verse number 4, 5, 6, 7. These 4 verses talk about this point. Then in the second verse, he talks about a very important change which sadhaka should be very willing to make, which is the change of his value system from either raga dvesha or dharma adharma to anukul pratikul. Anukulyasya sankalpo pratikulyasya varjanam. And also we saw that in order to attain success in this path of devotional service, it is absolutely non-negotiable to actually establish a relationship with Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and one's own Guru. So this was also, this is something we discussed last time. And then the third verse spoke about the possibility of establishing a relationship with Radha and Krishna and Vrindavan through any other sampradaya. Is it possible to establish a relationship with Radha and Krishna in Vrindavan in the mood of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu? That's what Chaitanya Mahaprabhu came to give. Is it possible through any other sampradaya? The answer was no. It is only possible through the writings of our Goswamis and not through any other writings or teachings. Then in the fourth verse, we saw about the 3 grossest obstacles which one has to give up in order to progress on the path of devotional service. The first one was prajalpa. The second one was mukti kata, discussion about liberation. And the third was attachment to worshipping Lakshmi Narayan and any other form of the Lord other than the forms of Radha and Krishna and Vrindavan. So he discussed that these are the 3 most serious, the grossest form of obstacles. So this is where the till fourth verses, till the fourth verse, this is what we saw. And in the fifth verse, we saw still more subtler obstacles. So we'll chant the verse, see the meaning, and then we have been discussing from His Holiness Shivaram Swami Maharaj's commentary to this verse. We will take that. So we'll chant the verse. Asacheshta kashta prada vikata pashalibiriha prakamam kamadi prakata patapati vyatikarai gale badva hanye hamiti bakabitvartma pagane kurutvam futkaranavati sayatatma manayita. So he says, while here on this revealed path of devotion, that path of devotion which has been revealed by our acharyas, he says, Vyatikaraihi, I have been attacked by a group of highway robbers. Okay, so Vyatikaraihi, and what do they do? And who are these highway robbers? Prakamam Kamadi, my own lust, anger, envy, greed, illusion, and pride. They are these highway robbers. So, what the highway robbers have done? Gale Badva, they have bound my neck. So, neck is devotional progress. Binding the neck is choking our devotional progress. So, these highway robbers of lust, anger, envy, greed, illusion, and pride, they choke our devotional progress. How do they choke? Kashtaprada Vikata Pashalid, with troublesome, dreadful ropes. So just like someone can put a noose around our neck and choke us, so they also these lust, anger, envy, greed, illusion, and pride. They also put um, ropes around our neck and try to choke our devotional progress. So what are these ropes? He says, asat cheshta. They are the wicked deeds which are inspired, impelled by lust, anger, envy, greed, illusion, and pride. These wicked deeds are compared to the ropes. The wicked deeds impelled by these lust, anger, envy, greed, illusion, and pride, they are compared to the ropes. So, what is the solution to escape from these ropes? He says, Kuru tvam futkaran, cry out piteously. So, crying out piteously, we saw, means to seek help, right? So, what should we cry out? He says, Hanyeham, Hanyeham, I'm being killed, I'm being killed. Like that, one should loudly cry out, seeking help. So, cry out to whom? He says, Bakabid Bartma Pagani. We should cry out to those devotees who are the protectors of the path leading to Krishna, who is the killer of Bakasur. So Bakasur is the personification of hypocrisy and deceit. So only in the association of devotees can we overcome this hypocrisy and deceit uh, uh, and take shelter of Krishna. So this is what this verse spoke about. We had an elaborate discussion from the commentary of Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur, which is the Bhajana Darpan commentary. Further, we started discussing from the commentary of Srila Shivram Swami Maharaj. So, Bhaktivinoda Thakur's commentary was a classic commentary. We spent a lot of time discussing that. But we will now move on to uh, we were going to complete, but somehow we got stuck. We didn't have time to complete Srila Shivram Swami Maharaj's commentary. So I'll do a quick recap of Shivram Swami Maharaj's commentary, and then we will move forward, complete it, and then maybe we can start Srila Bhakti Vigyan Goswami Maharaj's commentary. Okay. So Maharaj writes, this is a very important verse because in verse 4, 4 gross obstacles were explained, but even more subtle obstacles are described here. Okay. So he says, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu told Sanatan Goswami, Nitya Siddha Krishna Prema Sadhya Kabunoi Shravanadi Shuddha Chitte Kare Udai. So he makes this point here that Shravanadi Shuddha Chitte, when the heart is purified by hearing chanting. So while it is contaminated by Kamadi, Prakamam Kamadi Prakatapatipati Vyatikarehi, while it is contaminated by Kamadi, it is purified by Shravanadi. Shravanadi Shuddha Chitta Karayodai. Okay, so he says, that our heart becomes purified by through hearing and chanting, right? So everything starts with hearing and chanting, uh, like that. So and he says the word Krishna itself means Hare Krishna. I'm really sorry. I think I had some. Sorry. I will. I'll connect again. So hope you can hear me now. Uh, my internet connection is unstable. Let's see. So, Shivram Swami Maharaj's commentary here. Uh, yeah. So he says that the highway men are the ones who stop us from our progress. Okay. So then he says that they steal our wealth and they sometimes may even kill us, right? So therefore, whatever little devotional wealth that we have gained, we definitely want to protect it from these highway robbers of lust, anger, envy, greed, illusion, and pride. So, so we saw that Bhaktivinoda Thakur says that they catch us and they torment us. How? Because they have the ropes. The ropes are the activities which are impelled by these anarthas. Okay, and we are tightly bound by these activities. These activities are very addictive. Hmm? Lusty activities are addictive. Greed is addictive. Uh, Anger sometimes can be overwhelming and addictive. And envy is extremely addictive, right? Um, and pride, I mean, of course, it can completely intoxicate. So these are all very addictive. Addictive means they bind us, even though we may want to give up, but they won't give us up so easily, right? So we saw this. And then we saw that the result of this strangling, when we are bound by these activities impelled by lust, anger, envy, greed, illusion, we face great pain. And we had this discussion last time as to uh, what is this pain? How do we experience this pain? In what form? So devotees shared that we feel one form of pain is we feel a suffocation of our Krishna consciousness. due to this succumbing to lust, anger, envy, greed, delusion, and pride. Or sometimes we experience a loss of faith also sometimes. Does the practice of devotional service really work? Does it really does it really work, so we may develop a doubt on the process itself, or we may get tormented by guilt. We may sometimes get tormented by confusion. Am I really progressing, or am I actually regressing in my devotional service? Sometimes there is a loss of taste in devotional service, and sometimes we may experience withdrawal symptoms. We may start withdrawing from devotees, right? So therefore here and we end up being put in situation even against our will. We don't want to indulge in these kind of activities, but sometimes they are so addictive. And therefore Arjuna asked this question: ata kena prayuktoyam papam charati purushah anichannapi varshne, excuse me, baladiva niyojitah. He says that what is it, Krishna, that even though I don't want, is impelling me to act in sinful ways? And Krishna says, Kamayesha Krodesha Rajoguna Samudbhavan. So Baladiva Niyojitah. They are very, very strong ropes. Okay. So these dacoits have very strong ropes, and they can really bind us to these activities. Okay. And that can really choke our neck, which means that can really choke our devotional progress. So the solution that Srila Raghunath Das Goswami gives us here is cry out, cry out or scream, which means call for help, to Bakavid Vartma Pagane. So to the devotees who are the protectors of the path, to Krishna, who is the killer of Bakasur. Okay. So we had a long discussion as to what does it mean to scream for help. Screaming for help means first to of course ask them, seek help, all that. But most importantly, to do all that, we have to feel comfortable to whom we feel absolutely comfortable opening up. So we don't fear being judged. Okay. So we feel very comfortable and confident that this person will he is completely trustworthy and he will not judge me. Okay. So he will not judge me, he will completely trust me, and I can very confidently open up my heart to him because he is my genuine well-wisher. So we need to have some relationships like that, because one thing is, we can have such relationship with our relatives who may be non-devotees, right? The problem is that they may first think, they may not even see our shortcomings as actually shortcomings, because in the outside world, these are not considered to be shortcomings. So we may not really get their empathy and help, even though we may experience some affection from them. But that affection cannot in one sense completely help us, because they may not see our struggles as really struggles. So they may not really come forward to help us in that sense. And at the same time, if we see, if we may be in devotees association, but we may not have that kind of affectionate relationship with the devotees. So therefore the problem would be, when we are in trouble, with these kind of anarthas, we may not feel very comfortable to approach the devotees, fearing that they may judge me. So fearing judgmentalism, we may not feel very comfortable approaching the devotees. So this is the problem. So either cases, the case of uh, I will just write it down. Just hold on for a second. Just hold on. So the first case is the case of affectionate relationship with a non-devotee relative or friend. Okay. The second is a judgmental, non affectionate relationships with devotees. Both are troublesome because in the first case we won't get empathy and help, because such people will not see our problems as problems only. They will see our problems as, why is he so bothered about this? We may feel very comfortable opening up our heart to them, but we cannot expect them to understand our real problems. Okay. And the second case is, actually we have lot of devotees association, but we may not have affectionate relationships with devotees, because now the devotees have this uh, devotional value system where they have an understanding of what is anukul and pratikul for bhakti. When they see pratikul tendencies in us, instead of generating empathy, when the relationship is not there, it can generate judgmentalism. Judgmentalism, it can start with judgmentalism, and it ostracization. We may be ostracized from the community of devotees. So this is an issue. So therefore there is a problem. So not devotees, and we may struggle to establish non-judgmental, very very healthy relationships with devotees. Both are issues, because one can really understand our problems and the other cannot understand our problems. So therefore it is important, like we discussed this long time back in our discussion. So one should learn two arts, two arts, very important for devotees. Okay. So the two arts very important for devotees. The first art is the art of sowing seeds of devotion where there is an affection corpus. Okay. So where there is ample affection, one should learn to sow the seeds of devotion. This is the first case. okay, where you have affectionate relationship with non-devotee relatives or friend. So in that case, you should utilize that existing affection corpus. Oh, these people are really affectionate. So which means you should learn the art of sowing the seeds of devotion there. And then the second important thing that we should learn, actually the second is more important than first, is we have to learn is the art of sowing seeds of affection where there is an where there is a devotional corpus. Okay, basically what this means is we should learn to develop affectionate, non-judgmental, intimate relationship with devotees. So that we feel very comfortable to go and cry out to them. Look, I am suffering from this. Can you help me? So we'll feel very comfortable. We will not be fearful of being judged. So therefore, these are two very important things. So screaming for help means we should feel comfortable to scream out for help. So otherwise, we do have a very affectionate relationship with some of our friends and relatives who may not be devotees. If we cry out for help, they will not understand our problem. They will not see it as problem at all. So therefore, these are like very important art. So if we learn this art, then we can be very successful. If we learn to sow the if we learn the art of sowing seeds of devotion where there is an affection corpus, or if we learn to see the sow the art, if we learn the art of sowing seeds of affection where there is a devotional corpus, then I think we will, our devotional service will be very smooth. Then we can address these problems very easily, actually. So we must beseech our mind to scream out to the devotees of Krishna, the killer of Baka, help, I am being killed. So, so therefore, he says someone has to hear us. We can't just whisper, right? Of course, we discussed last time that does not mean that you go to an assembly of devotees whom some of whom you know, some of whom you half know, some of whom you barely know, and you go and tell this is the problem I am facing, this is the problem I am facing, this is the problem I am facing. We may end up actually confusing them. Uh, so it may not be that helpful actually. So one or two devotees who know us, who are mature, who are advanced, who are empathetic, who are non-judgmental, and who have great affection for us. So such devotees we have to choose and reveal our heart. Okay. So why he says here, he says Bakabid Vartmapagane, he says because Bakasur embodies deceit. And the problem is that this deceit is very difficult to unearth, find out, because this deceit is actually, and this becomes all the more difficult, overcoming deceit becomes all the more difficult when there is lack of affection and an ethos of judgmentalism. So this is very important actually. So deceitful person, So when there is an exhibition of deceit in a person, it is not his own fault alone. So it is not a one-sided fault. It is a two-sided fault, right? Sometimes the person itself may be deceitful, especially when he is us, but but he may want to express and take help, but when there is an ethos, when there is an people will just pounce upon you and judge you and criticize you, so then we will feel all the more uncomfortable to open up our heart. But when there is an affectionate relationship, then people will naturally attract empathy. So when there is lack of affection and an ethos of judgmentalism, overcoming deceit becomes all the more difficult actually. That yeah, this is very important. So, and he says that karma comes in many different forms, in the form of women, children, home, etc. All these seem very attractive, and they give the false hope that in their association I can be actually very secure. But that is why it is called as Bakasur, because it looks like a friend, but actually he looks like a friend, but right. So, mm, so he says, so what is the solution? He says the first step of that solution is that we have to be convinced that we are in a dangerous situation, right? Sometimes we may not even realize that we are in a dangerous situation. For when we realize that, then as the second step, uh, the second step is cry out. We cry out for help to the devotees, and they are like the guardians of the path of devotion. So they come out and help us. Okay. So like that, and Maharaj gives the example of Srila Prabhupada, that how Prabhupada was like a guardian of the path of devotion, and especially when he could smell uh, non-devotional, pseudo-devotional, quasi-devotional ideologies, he would immediately jump and kill that or squash that understanding, especially Mayavad or Sahajiaism. Um, you know like we saw the example of Gopi Bhav Club, or the group of sannyasis who are professing that Prabhupada was God, and Prabhupada immediately actually rejected them from the society. So these were the ways that Prabhupada was like the policeman, Bakavid Vartma Pagana. So he was like a very powerful protector of the path of devotion. Okay. So, so this is the point that we were discussing last time also, that how the problem of deceit is very closely connected with a judgmental ethos. You cannot divorce both. So when the ethos becomes less and less judgmental and more empathetic, the problem of deceit will also be very less actually. So, and in one sense, if you see, mm, so deceit, guilt, uh, so the symptoms of a judgmental ethos is actually deceit, guilt, and stress. And this stress manifests in the form of physical illness, then some kind of mental phobias, then in one sense, like digestion disorders, then it leads to um, you know, symptoms like you can say yeah, uh, so many such things. So this is not a one-way problem. So it is actually the problem of the ethos, you know, the kind of environment that is in. So it is not a one-way issue, it's a two-way issue, like that. So it is not just, it's a, there is a very, yeah, insecurity, yeah, insecurity is another very um, very important symptom of you know, a judgmental ethos, you know, a situation where there is solid judgmentalism. So this is very, actually this is very um, very unfortunate actually. And this, rather than solving the problem, it actually complicates the issue multifold. So a problem, the problem of deceit is not solved. The problem of you know, lust, anger, envy, greed, illusion is not solved, and it rather introduces additional problems of deceit, guilt, stress, physical illness, mental phobias, digestion disorders, insecurity, and many such issues. While the original you know, judgmentalism, an ethos of judgmentalism as a solution for lust, anger, envy, greed, illusion, and pride, at least while introducing deceit, guilt, etc., will it solve the original issues? No. The original issues stay and additional complications are introduced actually. So, so therefore, we will see that ultimately, you know, uh, the importance of association. Uh, yeah, I mean, other devotees are sharing additional points. Uh, the problem of blame game. Hmm? You start blaming others, criticizing others. Right? In it. The nature of deceit is not only that one tries to deceive others, but one tries to deceive oneself. So then one starts losing sight of the real path. So therefore, he says, we need real association. He says, this is the point. We need real association. So real means sajatiya ashe snigde sadhusanga swatovare. Real association means like-minded, affectionate, uh, devotee who is more advanced. So if we have this kind of an association, very powerful, this is real association. So by association, one becomes free of this deceitful mentality. If we have this kind of an association, if we have a judgmental association, rather than becoming free from deceitful mentality, one can become infested with deceitful mentality. So association of the right kind can help us get out of deceitful mentality, but an association of the wrong kind can make us more and more deceitful. So many times, you know, the problem is, you know, at one end, before coming to Krishna consciousness, one sometimes devotee or people face the problem of shamelessness. So, and but sometimes after coming to Krishna consciousness, the other end of the pendulum is actually deceitfulness. Because the original so so that you cannot see any deceitfulness in the absence of a value system. Okay, in the absence of a value system, deceitfulness, because when there is no question of right and wrong, why should people hide anything? Huh? When there is an understanding that whatever I like is right, whatever I don't like is wrong. So in such a situation, why should anyone be deceitful? Because no one is going to judge you for your actions. But whenever there is a value system strong, the more is the chance of it inducing deceitful nature actually. So therefore, it's in an ethos of judgmentalism. One should find out pockets of like-minded, affectionate, more advanced devotee association one can overcome this issue. So actually this is very serious issue, serious problem actually. And there is a very strong systemic cause, especially in devotees, in devotee communities. There is a very which causes this issue actually. So Bhaktivinoda Thakur summarizes that devotees guard against pretenders and deceit, which prey on innocent Vaishnavas practicing service. Right. The purport is that the heart and consciousness cannot be purified by sacrifices, yoga, or any other activity, but only by the association of pure devotees. Yamadibir yogapataihi kamalobadibir muhuhu mukunda sevaya yadvat tata atma adhyana samyati. Shamyati. And in Bhagavatam. So Narottam Das Thakur also says that not only will these problems go away with the particular demons identified with each anartha. Okay. So what is the method of purification? So this is the famous uh, bhajan, which even Prabhupada quotes sometimes. So he says, Kama Krishna Karmarpane. Actually, this is easier said than done. Actually, this seems, oh, you have lust, you have material attachment, just shift it to Krishna. I mean, it's not that easy actually. Yeah. So this is not that easy. You cannot just shift like that because um, mm, Atmendriya Priti Vancha Tarabale Kam, Krishnendriya Priti Icha Dhare Premana. Right. So there is a big difference between Kama and Prem. Huh? So Kama Krishna Karmarpane. So for that, our value system has to change significantly. When our value system changes, that very strong when we start valuing from valuing money, fame, etc., when we start valuing number of rounds of Hare Krishna Maha Mantra, the quality of our chanting, it can change actually. Otherwise, just like that, you don't have to give up lust. Just change lust to Kama Krishna Karmarpane. It does not happen. We can try. I mean, many times we hear this about dovetailing these propensities. Does it get dovetailed like that? I mean, of course, this is a question. This is where we ended our discussion. But before we start today's discussion, I'll just pause for a few seconds to quick comments, questions, discussion points. If anyone would like to share, I'll wait. You can please raise your. Well, okay. Radha, Pramod, Prabhu, I'm unmuting you, bro.
Bro, like when we say you have to cry in front of devotees, it is like you just have to tell them, and then that's all. It's gone, or there is something else one has to do.
A problem, or I'm not able to hear you.
Oh, you are not able.
Yeah,
Okay.
now it's clear. Now it's clear. Go ahead, bro.
Now you are able to hear me, bro.
Yeah.
Bro, when we say like we have to cry in front of devotees,
Mm-hmm.
it's like going and telling them, okay, I have problem.
Mm-hmm.
Just by telling, can we overcome the problem? Or like there is something else we have to do with it.
So actually, it's not just by telling; it is by actually experiencing that affection. So when we experience that affection and shelter, that gives us the strength to overcome it. Because we will see this little more in detail in the next verse, where I think it's the next verse or the next verse, where he says that is Vaishnava Preeti, then it actually strengthens the weak heart, Hridaya Daurbalyam. It helps one overcome. So it is not just by telling, it's in experiencing the affection in return that strengthens the person to overcome and fight the anarthas actually.
So we have to do the homework.
Yeah, homework is actually to establish a relationship with devotees. I mean, it need not be with everyone, but at least we should have a few.
Yeah. Yes. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else would like to share something? You can please raise your hands. I'll unmute you. Okay, so we will move ahead then to discuss this theme of, does it, what is this Kama Krishna Karmarpane Krodha Bhakta Dveshi Jane? Uh, and Krodha, generally we become angry when something which is very dear to us is taken away. So unless we work on actually valuing devotional service more than all these material comforts and other things which we are attached to, you cannot just overnight change. Okay, you don't have to give up your anger. Just become angry on is Bhakta Dveshi. It does not happen like that actually. So uh, I, I, I I just want some of you to share, if you feel comfortable sharing, how many of you have tailing lust, anger, envy, greed, illusion, and pride. Of course, envy is not doubtable, that is mentioned. How many of you have heard this? How many of you have tried it, and how many of you have been successful? I'm just curious to know. Might want to share, you can please raise your hands. So uh, uh, would you like to share, anyone? How many of you have heard to Krishna Karma or devotional service, Krodha Bhakta Dveshi Jane, how, uh, question how anger can be by becoming angry towards devotees. Um, then then there is moha ishta labha vinay, and not getting what you like by not achieving Krishna's lotus feet. I mean, these are like, oh yeah, all I need to do is to just dovetail it. That's all. I don't have to give up anger. I just like devotees. I don't have to give up lust. All I need to do is, instead of getting attracted to things of this world, I have to get attracted to things to serving Krishna. I mean, is it so easy? So that's why I'm asking you, how many of you have heard this bhajan? If not the bhajan, at least the translation of this bhajan. And how many of you have tried, and what is your realization? If anyone would like to share. Vrajvinod Shyam Prabhu, I'm unmuting you.
Hare Krishna Prabhu, Dandavat Pranam.
Dandavat Prabhu.
Prabhuji, I have not heard the song or the meaning in the full form, but I've heard the method which has been mentioned in different locations where Prabhupada is mentioned, other devotees have mentioned that you can do this. This particular vice can be sort of dovetailed in Krishna sense like this. Only envy cannot be used, and other things can be. I've heard this. Unfortunately, I've miserably failed in dovetailing it.
Yeah.
Because it is very, very difficult.
Yeah.
But it's like I've never tried, becoming angry at people who have sort of blasphemed devotees or Krishna. That is how I can use my anger. I did not get a situation to try like that. And other aspects also, it's very difficult.
So many times we ourselves become angry at devotees rather than becoming angry at those who become angry at devotees.
That is the somebody else could have used their anger against me when I get angry at devotees. Like that is possible, but I have not been able to do it. But what has sort of worked when I tried, what has worked for me is to try to differentiate myself from my mind and intelligence with use of some verses or knowledge of hearing for people like you, that whatever is happening and understanding the effect of modes and trying to differentiate myself from the actions which has been done and of analysis kind of a thing. But that has worked partly. But dovetailing miserably. I mean, I don't think I've understood. I know that it can be done, but never tried or not seriously tried or not succeeded is what I would say.
Okay. Thank you very much for sharing, bro. Anyone else would like to share? Radha Pramod Prabhu, I'm unmuting you.
Other about kama and lobha and other things, not so much, because not easy. But when it comes to anger, we try sometimes, and but many times we feel we have to tolerate. So it becomes little confusing that I should tolerate or I should become angry. So it is not so clear, because anger increases unnecessarily the lower modes for us. So we better tolerate. So even if like somebody is coming and doing some problem to the temple, some neighbors are creating problem, they are hating devotees, but we always feel it is better to tolerate. So instead of becoming angry and fighting with them, we tolerate and try to cooperate or do whatever needful and go ahead.
Yeah, correct. Yeah.
So that much only we tried, but other things not.
That is one
very
thing,
easy.
but okay, I think my internet is terrible here because your voice is also breaking for me. So let me just give me 1 second. I will try to fix it. Just 1 second. Give me 1 second time. I will just try to fix this internet if possible. Okay, I hope it's little better. So Krishnam Prabhu, I'm unmuting you, bro.
Hare Krishna.
Yes, Prabhuji.
Prabhu, I was not able to hear you properly because I don't know whether the
Yeah,
Uh,
my internet was poor.
and can you please repeat the question because I didn't even understand what you were asking.
Yeah, I was just telling, we do hear this bhajan by Narottam Das Thakur, which is quoted here by His Holiness Shivram Swami Maharaj. That Kama Krishna Karmarpane Krodha Bhakta Dveshi Jane Lobha Sadhu Sange Harikata Moha Ishta Labha Vine. Like that, Niyujya Karibe Yata Tata. I think I missed one or two. So, but he says that how you can dovetail these propensities. He says that Kama Krishna Karmarpane. If you have lust, don't worry, you don't have to give up lust. You can just dovetail it. How? Instead of becoming lusty towards material objects, you become very lusty towards or very much attracted to Krishna karma or devotional service. And Krodha, oh, you don't have to give up Krodha. You can just dovetail it by just become angry towards those who are inimical towards devotees. And Lobha, you don't have to give up greed. All you need to do is to become greedy towards achieving devotees association. Lobha sadhu sangya harikata. So instead of becoming greedy towards money, become greedy towards harikata and sadhu sangha. And illusion, oh, illusion you don't have to give up. You need to dovetail it, that's all. How do you dovetail? Become illusion when you don't attain Krishna. Well, Niyujya Kariba Yata Tata. In this way, you can dovetail all these propensities in Krishna consciousness. But so many times we have heard it. I was just curious to how many of you have tried applying this principle, and and how many of you have found success? So I am not debating. I am not telling here that Narottam Das Thakur is wrong. But the point is, how do we understand this bhajan? How do we understand this paragraph? Is it dovetailable like that? How many of you have found it easier to dovetail these propensities like that? That's what I wanted to know. Yes, Krishna Bro.
What I felt was that lobha, that is greed, is something which it is perhaps easier to dovetail it the way you have explained it, to have more greed for devotee association and improving in devotional service. That seems to be feasible, at least in as far as I'm concerned. And the second one is Krodha. That also is something which is doable. But the main thing is Kama. I don't know how it is possible to dovetail it at all. That is something which I am unable to do.
Actually, okay. Thank you for sharing, bro. So actually, if you actually think about it, Kama only leads to Krodha and Lobha. So Kama, when fulfilled, leads to Lobha. When unfulfilled, leads to Krodha. So if you are not able to tackle Kama, So whatever object for which we are having kama, we will have lobha towards that object only. And when that object is taken away only, we will become krodha. So we cannot say that I can have kama towards material things and I will have lobha and krodha towards spiritual things. Actually, in one sense, it is not possible. So wherever our attachment is, when we get that, we will become greedy. When we lose that, we will become angry. So that's what Krishna also says. Kama, he says that dhyayato vishayan pumsan sangasteshu pajayate sangat sanjayate kama kamat krodho bijayate. So therefore, if we have attachment towards material things, then it is only a theoretical proposition that we will have greed towards spiritual things and we will become angry when spiritual things are taken away. So that's my understanding. Does it make sense, Prabhu? Krishna, Prabhu, does it make sense?
Hare Krishna.
Yeah.
That makes sense, but maybe that what I understood was a little different. What I wanted to say is, when I stand in front of the deity, I'm not able to get that kind of attraction spontaneously. Although, in fact, how to admire and develop love towards the deity, I become little blank when I stand in front of the deity. Although I scrutinizingly see all the features, but still that spontaneous love is something which is not coming.
Yeah, of course. That anything spontaneous will come only through practice. I mean,
how to practice developing that love towards the form of Krishna, Prabhu?
Well, I mean, in one sense, chanting his holy name and hearing glorification of Krishna and rendering some practical service, gradually over a period of time, one will develop attraction towards the form also. Gradually, I mean, it will not be very fast, but definitely gradually over a period of time, we will develop some. When we start experiencing some reciprocation, so then slowly one will start getting attracted to the form also. So this is, I mean, it's not rocket science, very simple only. Of course, you know, Shravanam, Kirtanam, Vishnu Smaranam, Pada Sevanam only. So when we keep doing it more and more, scrutinizingly, trying to avoid the offenses, because when we commit the 10 types of offenses, we are actually in one, Krishna, I don't care about you. So then it becomes very difficult to develop attraction. So scrutinizingly avoiding the 10 offenses and trying to practice the 9 limbs to the best of our ability. That is the way of slowly developing more. Is that okay, Prabhu?
Yeah. Thank you, Prabhu.
Thank you. Madhavi Gopi Mataji, I'm unmuting.
Hare Krishna.
Yes, ma'am.
Dandavat Prabhuji. Prabhuji, 2-3 points I just wanted to mention that what just now Krishnanam Prabhuji said, I also agree with it that whatever the doable aspect of it, lobha. And then the explanation which you gave about it, that means once the calm is there, either in the material or spiritual realm, the krodha and this thing will be similarly in that field only, respectively. So those devotees who have developed, lot of attraction for hearing or for associating with the devotees, can we retrospectively infer that they may have, succeeded to some extent in doubting their karma in the towards Krishna, and that is why we see the effect like this. That is one point.
You can say, that's the point I'm trying to make, Mataji. Actually, is that the whole thing that Narottam Das Thakur is trying to talk about there is not that overnight your material calm, material lobe, material krodha, everything will change. What he is indicating here is when there is a slow change of value system, where we start to the extent that we develop attraction towards spiritual things, to that extent our material karma will become spiritual karma. Then naturally, spiritual karma means what? You appreciate devotees association, you love devotees association. So therefore, when anyone criticizes devotees, you naturally become angry. And then because you appreciate devotees association so much, so you become greedy to attain it more and more. So this is a very gradual change. This is not like, oh, you have lust, don't worry, from tomorrow just use lust in a spiritual way. It does not happen like that. It's a very gradual change. And when the value system changes, it starts with the change of value system, and gradually when we start developing attraction towards the spiritual objects, people, and everything, gradually krodha, lobha, everything gets doubted. That's my understanding of this whole thing.
Of course, it will be gradual process only because this is the big changeover.
Yeah, yeah.
Polar difference between the
Yeah.
two, material and spiritual.
Yeah, yeah.
The other point was probably regarding the envy, what we are discussing. So I just wanted to share that whether, like many times we see in the devotees also, like, oh, this person has done so much progress. His or her sadhana is so nice. So let me also, try. He has reached this level. Let me also try. Or his deities are always very beautiful in a very beautiful dresses. So let me also, do such things. So can we term this as a envy, directed in the spiritual realm? I'm confused. That is an aspect.
Well, I mean, in one sense, it's not envy. It is just inspiration. You are taking inspiration. That is not really envy, because envy has in one sense, like a sort of negative connotation. So it is, uh, so it is not exactly envy actually. What you described is not, in according to dictionary definition, it's not really envy. It is just seeing others and getting inspired. So it's a very positive thing actually.
Okay. And how we differentiate between lust and attraction? Are they the two shades of the same spectrum, or?
I mean, it depends on how you define lust. I mean, in this context, when you say Kama Krishna Karmarpane, so now Krishna Karmarpane, if you take Kama to mean, will you take it as lust or attraction? Well, there the word Kama refers to attraction only in one sense. Because lust means Atmendriya Priti. But Atmendriya Priti means attraction for one's own senses. So, but here when you have Kama Krishna Karmarpane, it is Kama in form. The external form looks like Kama, but it is not Kama because it is Krishnendriya Priti. It is actually Prema. So that is why even in defining Ragatmika Bhakti, it is called as Kama Rupa Ragatmika Bhakti. So Kama Rupa Ragatmika Bhakti means it has the form of Kam. The external form looks like Kama, but in reality it is Raga. So the word Kama that is used, Kama Krishna Karmarpane, becomes actually Raga. But from kama to raga takes decades and decades of sincere practice of Vaidhi sadhana bhakti. So it is not easy actually. It is not
Could
like
be
just like that.
lifetimes also.
Yeah, it could be lifetimes also. It could be lifetimes also. So it is not like that. It's not like, oh, kama is doubtable, no problem. Krodha is doubtable, no problem. Lobha is doubtable, no problem. It's not like that. And in that sense, I think um, the missing out of envy is probably incidental also, uh, because Prabhupada does talk about transcendental envy between the gopis also. So there is envy dovetailed in Krishna's service also. So Prabhupada about it. So in that case, probably Srila Narottam Das Thakur's presentation of these anarthas being dovetailed um, is probably the missing out of envy is just incidental, probably. Even though many times we hear, you see Narottam Das Thakur says that kama can be dovetailed, krodha, lobha, moha, mada can be dovetailed, but matsarata, envy cannot be dovetailed. Well, I'm not very sure about that, because even these are not exactly talking about dovetailing, but they are actually talking about a bigger transformation. It's not just a simple dovetailing, I think. That's what I feel. Because many times these are not this kind of easy transformations. They don't transform that easily like that.
Or it could be for those devotees, like as you mentioned, those who are ragatmikas or at the platform of bhava and prema, like how we see Chandravali's camp and Radharani's camp they
Yeah,
have
yeah.
here.
There is
So
there
it
is
may
something
not
which
be
looks,
that all the whatever has been mentioned we see at the level of sadhana bhakti only. It may be for the higher levels.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah. Or maybe it's just to give confidence to sadhakas that don't get this hurt, and these can be dovetailed like that. But they cannot be dovetailed like, it's not that easy to dovetail it like that. Today we are feeling great attraction towards a material object, and suddenly from tomorrow we start uh, feeling that attraction towards a spiritual object. Oh yeah, yeah, lust can be dovetailed. It does not get dovetailed like that. So yeah,
Yeah. Thank you, Purna.
thank you, thank you. Okay, anything else? Finally, before we move on to the next, continuing to discuss this theme. Okay, so I think we'll continue. So he says, Maharaj says, he says that he will offer his lust in the service of Lord Krishna. The examples are given in Srimad Bhagavatam. Okay, Maharaj does not say what are the examples that are given. But anyway, anger. So what do I do with anger? Prabhupada gives the example of Hanumanji and Arjuna. So they became angry. Hanumanji became angry towards Lanka and Ravana, because they were uh, Ravana was inimical um, uh, towards Lord Ram, and Lanka was his kingdom. So he directed his anger towards Ravana and Lanka, right? My greed. I am very greedy. What to do with this greed? I should become very greedy for the association of Vaishnavas and to hear Krishna Katha. I mean, the main problem is I am struggling with, I don't have any, I have greed only for money, I have greed only for fame, and association of Vaishnavas is not so attractive. Krishna Katha is too boring. So you mean to say that I have a problem with greed for money, fame, glorification, and so tomorrow, yeah, just change the object. You don't have to give up greed. Just become greedy for Vaishnavas association. I mean, it does not happen like that. It it takes a big change of value system and gradual development of some kind of attraction, and then gradually it changes. Actually, basically, the point is that uh, Yet, when Narottam Das Thakur says Kama Krishna Karmarpane Kroba Bhakta Dveshi Dane Loba Sadhu Sangha Harikata Moha Ishtalabha Vine and so on. Basically, what he is indicating is that spiritual life, perfected spiritual life, is not emotionless. Our spiritual life is not emotionless. There is unlimited scope for expressing yourself. That is what here Narottam Das Thakur, in my opinion, that's what Narottam Das Thakur is indicating here. You can express yourself emotionally in the spiritual realm. There is scope for emotional expression. You don't have to kill your emotions to become perfect in devotional service. There is scope for emotional expression within the perfected stages of devotional service. In my opinion, that's what actually Srila Narottam Das Thakur is indicating here. Yes, don't think that you will become emotionally numb and dull. There is ample scope for emotional expression within the realm of devotional service when you perfect devotional service. In my understanding, that's what here Srila Narottam Das Thakur is indicating, rather than indicating that overnight they can be dovetailed like that. Right? Delusion or bewilderment, how to purify both? He says, I should be deluded or completely bewildered if I am in the absence of devotees. Many times we feel the opposite only. In the association of devotees, we become bewildered by their actions. And when we are not in their association, there is less bewilderment. So suddenly, how will it change like that, right? In other words, I should feel great separation from Krishna, thinking, where is Krishna? Well, okay, think like that. Is it easy? And pride, how to purify pride? I should be very proud that I have such a wonderful supreme person, such a wonderful master whom I am serving. So these things and all, gradually when we hear more and more and more and more and chant more and more, allow our heart to become purified, then these emotions will manifest. Like that. He is full of wonderful opulences, transcendental glories, so beautiful and wise and kind. I should be proud of these things. Well, yeah, I should be. And we could be gradually when our hearts become purified and we develop an alternative value system, it is possible. This type of dovetailing of these particular qualities will naturally bring them to the pure state, or rather it's like both ways. The more we become pure, these qualities will more naturally manifest, right? Like that. So that brings us to the end of Srila Shivaram Swami Maharaj's commentary to this verse of how to escape the trouble created by the 6 highway robbers by calling out to devotees. Okay, any final comment before we move on to the commentary of Srila Bhakti Vigyan Goswami Maharaj? I'll wait for a few seconds. If there are any final comments, you can please share. If there are none, then we'll move ahead. Okay, so I think we'll move ahead to the commentary by Srila Bhakti Vigyan Goswami Maharaj. So, so Maharaj says, this is a very important verse for all of us. Asat Cheshta Kashta Prada. Cheshta means efforts. Asat Cheshta means false, futile, meaningless efforts. Kashta means suffering, Prada means yielding. So first he is just giving the Shabdarth, word meanings. Cheshta, efforts. Asat cheshta, false efforts, futile efforts, meaningless efforts. Okay. Kashta prada means giving suffering. So asat cheshta kashta prada. Raghunath Das Goswami says that our life consists of futile efforts. Right. In Soviet literature, there is a famous piece by Ilya Ilf and Evgeny Petrov called The Golden Calf. Okay, Maharaj is from Russia, so uh, you know, even when it comes to literatures, many times Maharaj quotes from Russian writers and dramatists and all that. So he's talking about the golden calf. It pictures the fate of a man who has been striving after 1,000,000 rubles all his life. So there was this man whose goal of life was to somehow collect or accumulate or earn 1,000,000 rubles. Rubles is like the Russian rupee or whatever, the Russian currency. He did get 1,000,000 and then said, the dream of an idiot has come true. So he felt that how idiot I was, how much of an idiot I was. So the dream of an idiot has come true, he realized. Raghunath Das Goswami says the same thing. Asat cheshta kashta prada vikata. Vikata means very severe suffering. The efforts we make and the labor we expend in this world makes us suffer. But both our effort and the fruit are actually asat, something that has no reality or meaning, which means the endeavors to achieve material success, material happiness is actually very painstaking, and at the same time, the result is very temporary and it lacks the real juice, right? So, you all know this episode with Srila Prabhupada. Someone asked Prabhupada, Swamiji, uh, what if Krishna was not there? What if Krishna was not true? What will happen to you? You have spent all your life trying to worship him. So Prabhupada said, nothing, there is no loss because we are living a really wonderful life. We are eating nice prasadam. We are not unnecessarily laboring very hard. And ideally, when we try to have good relationships with devotees, helping each other and cooperating and all that for the pleasure of Krishna. In the end, if Krishna is not there, at least we have lived a good material life, happy, anxiety free, stress free, not getting into this rat race and losing our vital energy and all that. But then Prabhupada asked, at the end of the life, what if you realize that actually Krishna is there? What will happen to you? You have wasted your whole life running after this flickering pleasures. And at the end, when you realize that Krishna is there, the law of karma is true, and you are going to land up in hell after this life, what will happen to you? Who is going to protect you? So, like that. So the point is that so the efforts we make and the labor we expend in this world make us suffer, but both our effort and the fruit are actually asat. The so much uh, uh, we actually um, struggle hard to achieve something, but it is all at the end, even if we achieve it, the nature of it is chapala sukha. It has very flickering pleasure actually. Pashalibir means, Pasha means rope. He says, these ropes have tied me. The karma we create has tied us hand and foot, causing us excruciating pain. Of course, here the word karma means, so karma can mean action, karma can mean reaction, and karma can also mean impressions. Okay, so here he indicates impressions. The karma we create can be translated as the impressions we create has tied us hand and foot, causing us excruciating pain, because these impressions will impel us to act in particular ways, uh, mm, which will cause us excruciating pain. We may think, now I need just a little money. I will first earn 1 million and then I will peacefully perform bhajan. So this is how we think actually. Uh, I will first earn 1 million and then I will peacefully perform bhajan. But this does not really happen, because after million we don't really be happy or satisfied with 1 million. We want more. Thus we start to work saying, I need some money, just a little. I just have to reach my financial goal. 30 years pass by and we have made little or no spiritual progress. Of course, he seems to take um, a, a householder's example, but this is not just true with householders, this is true with any sadhaka. So for a householder, he may have some financial planning and certain things, but even uh, brahmacharis, for that matter, they may have their own plans of certain achievements. I have to preach to so many places, give so many classes, or whatever. Um, so, and then I will, I will feel little bit of satisfaction, and after that I can just peacefully sit and chant. I will not have any other goals like that. So this is true with anyone. These meaningless efforts bind us hand and foot, and we create more karmic debts. Decades later, instead of millions, we have only increased these debts. So karmic debts means, what Maharaj means by karmic debts here, it means actually, for devotees, it means material vasanas. And they bind us by hand and foot means they engage, they helplessly engage us in material activities. That's what it means, right? So therefore, Raghunath Das Goswami says that by these ropes here, iha, I am tied up. Prakamam kamadi prakata patapati vyatikaraihi. There is a gang of thugs, and it is they who have tied us. So first we are going to see about, Maharaj is going to discuss about lust. So one by one he is going to describe various, the 6 anarthas. So first he is going to speak about lust. He says, Prakamam Kamadi, the chief of that gang is Kama, lust, because it all starts with lust. Kama has 5 underlings: Krodha, Lobha, Moha, Mada, and Matsarya. In fact, there is a whole clan, a family succession of thugs working together. So this is a family of thugs. They work together. Raghunath Das Goswami says that gang has attacked me. He does not say Vyatikara, he says Vyatikaraihi, which means plural. There is a gang of thugs who have attacked me. I was walking along the spiritual path and suddenly out of nowhere, Kamakro the Loba jumped out. Crying out and encircling me, they started tying me up. Here in this verse, Raghunath Das Goswami gives us highly practical advice on how to defeat our lust, anger, greed, illusion, pride, and envy. How do we overcome them? He says that these highwaymen are not just robbing us, but killing us. Hanyeham. So, Kama, Krodha, Lobha, Mada, Moha, and Matsarya strangle us. So now, what gives rise to Kama? Lust. Krishna says, Dhyayato Vishayan Pumsan Sangasteshu Pajayate Sangat Sanjayate Kama. So, from meditation on material sense objects, gradually we develop attachment, and attachment leads to Kama. Right? We need to know, here he says, we need to know from which layer Kama leaps out at us. Everything can appear as being so perfect. The sun is shining, the air is clear. Then suddenly, out of nowhere, Kama appears and drags us somewhere, forcing us to act. And we say, yes, I need to do that. I need to do that. In the Bhagavad Gita, Krishna explains the origin of Kama. Sankalpa Prabhavan Kaman. So this comes in the sixth chapter of Bhagavad Gita. Sankalpa Prabhavan Kamam Tyakta Sarvam Sarvan Aseshataha. Krishna says. So Sankalpa Prabhavan. So which means, he says, Kama is born out of Sankalpa. So Sankalpa means mind, which is the reservoir of material vasanas. So lust is born out of Sankalpa. Sankalpa Prabhavan Kaman. Like that. Material desire or Kama, lust, comes from Sankalpa. Sankalpa is something more subtle than lust. Right? Sankalpa is more subtler than lust. Because only something which is subtler then give rise to something which is more gross. If you see the universal creation also, from ether comes air, from air comes fire, from fire comes water, from water comes earth. So from the subtlest, the grossest is gradually developed. So therefore, if Kama comes from Sankalpa, then definitely Sankalpa is more subtler than lust. So he says, lust is already the specific desires that stifle us. Sankalpa means determination. So he says, Sankalpa means what? I remember college days, sometimes, especially during exam times. I mean, of course, there are children, devotee children, who are from beginning, they are very nice devotees. There are others who take up to Krishna consciousness while they are in school, or sometimes people take up to Krishna consciousness while they are in college. I was not one such fortunate person, even though I had the opportunity to become Krishna conscious, but I did not take up to that opportunity that well. So it was only after I moved on to the United States to do my further studies, that's when I even there it took me some time to actually take up the Krishna consciousness. But I remember my college days that especially during exam times, you do lot of late night study, and almost for 1 or 2 weeks, it's like really you're really missing out on any kind of extracurricular activities, and you are like really stressed out, trying to study, cram, and understand and write the exam. And then you are really craving, when that last exam gets over, I will just go and have a blast. So this is called a sankalpa. I will just go and have, I will just go out, I will just get out of the campus and do something, maybe go for a movie or a restaurant or something like that. So you are like really eager. So that is sankalpa. Even though the desire has not taken a particular shape, but the determination to enjoy, that is sankalpa. So here sankalpa is of course defined in a slightly different way. It is not really vasanas, but it is a generic form of lust, whereas kama means, oh, I want to enjoy in this particular way. I want to go to this restaurant and eat this particular item, and then I want to go to this theater and watch this movie. That is kama. But before that, a generic form of a determination to enjoy. Somehow after the last exam, I want to just get out of the campus and then just go and enjoy. That determination, that is sankalpa. So sankalpa is more generic, right? Sankalpa, a more generic determination to enjoy. And kama is when it takes a very specific case, specific shape. When it takes a very specific shape, it is called as kama. Sankalpa means it's a more generic determination to enjoy, right? Desire arises from the determination to enjoy. Before the specific desire, we have this focus on enjoyment in this world. That is sankalpa prabhavan kaman. Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita says that if we simply want to gratify our senses, we have a deeply rooted purpose. So this deeply rooted purpose is what is described here as sankalpa. Okay. So I just want to enjoy, that is sankalpa. So Chaitanya Charitamrita says, Kamera tatparya nija sambhoga kevala Krishna sukha tatparya matra premata prabala. Kamera tatparya, the interpretation or explanation of kama is that it is nija sambhoga, one's own pleasure, the desire to please our own self and our self only, kevala. The root of lust is ultimately the desire for our own satisfaction, which in its turn is derived from the fact that we have left Krishna and turned away. So we have left Krishna and turned our face away from Krishna. So with the desire, with the determination that I want to enjoy separately from Krishna. So from that comes kama. Because the avaranatmika shakti of Mahamaya gives shape to the generic determination. She says, well, how do you want to enjoy? I will give you various options. You can choose like that. So the avaranatmika shakti, sorry, not avaranatmika shakti, prakshepatmika shakti of Mahamaya gives particular shape to the generic determination to enjoy separately from Krishna. The main problem The main problem is that lust is the most difficult to be rid of, and the strongest manifestation of lust is sexual desire. As long as a person has a body and mind, lust will more or less be there. We have received a body and mind to enjoy, if not grossly, then in a subtle way. Okay. So the more we move towards Rajogun and Tamogun, the more our desire to enjoy becomes grosser and grosser. But when there is when we are more towards mode of goodness, uh, even the selfish enjoyment is like a more subtler selfish enjoyment, like that. At the bottom, I'm sorry. At the bottom of it all lies our original sin that we have turned away from Krishna. Right? So we discussed this, right? Many times we have discussed this. Uh, so, uh, hmm, what is that verse? He says, Ishadapat apetasya viparyayo asmritihi. So the first is the person turns his face away from Krishna. Ishadapetasya means the living entity turns his face away from Krishna. So when he turns his face away from Krishna, then what happens? Tan Maya Yato. Maya Devi catches. Okay. So then he says, how does Maya Devi engage him? He says, Viparyaya and Asmriti. So Viparyaya means Asmriti means forgetfulness of one's constitutional position. So this is accomplished by the Avaranatmika Shakti. So one does not remember that one is not the body but the spirit soul. And then the second is identification with matter. So this is accomplished by the Prakshepatmika Shakti. This is called as Viparyaya and Asmritihi. So then Bhayam Dvitiya Abhiniveshitasyat Ishad Apetasya Viparyayo Asmritihi Tan Mayayato. So then he says, then comes Dvitiya Abhinivesh. Because he has identified with matter, gradually he becomes absorbed, trying to enjoy matter. Then the result is bhayam, fear of samsara. So at the bottom of it lies our original sin that we have turned away from Krishna. Ishadapetasya. So when we turn away from Krishna, Maya Devi catches us in the form of Asmriti. First, she makes us forget our original constitutional position, and then Viparyaya, she makes us identify with matter. Then further, this identification leads to absorption to enjoy matter, and then it leads to fear of samsara. Because even though the living entity is constitutionally eternal, he wants to enjoy everything eternally, but whatever he tries to enjoy by identifying with in this material world has non-substantial, insubstantial existence. So therefore there is fear. Okay. So he says, we do not want to look at him. Even when we are trying to turn to him refers to Krishna, we constantly turn back ourselves. So even while engaging in Krishna consciousness, we want to enjoy matter, right? We love ourselves and we want to satisfy our own senses. Therefore, in any spiritual discipline, a person must somehow or other solve this problem. How can I turn towards Krishna? Different spiritual disciplines offer different solutions. In the 6th chapter of the Bhagavad Gita, Krishna gives us very interesting advice, verse 24. This is the same verse to which I have already referred. Sankalpa prabhavan kaman tyaktva sarvam asheshatah, he says. Sankalpa prabhavan kaman. That lust is simply the personification of all our material desires, subtle and gross. Right? So he now quotes these verses. These verses are connected together. Sa nischayena yoktavyo yogo anirvinna chetasa sankalpa prabhavan kamam tyaktva sarvan asheshatah manasayvendriya gramam viniyamya samantatah shanair shanair uparamed buddhya driti grihitaya atma samstam manakritva nakinchit apichintayet. This is the practice of an Ashtanga yogi. He says that sa yogo nischayena yoktavyo. This yoga must be practiced with great determination. Nischayena means with determination. Anirvinna chetasa. Anirvinna chetasa means without depression. If you slip and fall, get up and start walking again. Then if you slip and fall, get up and start walking again. There is no question of getting depressed. So he says, sa yogo nischayena yoktavyo anirvinna chetasa. Tyaktva asheshatah sarva sankalpa prabhavan kamam. And one should give up completely all sense objects as well as impressions arising from desire. Controlling the senses completely by the mind, by concentrated intelligence. Control the mind by the intelligence and the senses by the mind, and by making the mind meditate on Atma, gradually one should remain in Samadhi. So this is, of course, the practice of an Ashtanga yogi, but then the principle is universal, that one should practice with determination, not get depressed, and one should control the mind through the intelligence. One should control the mind through the intelligence and the senses through that controlled mind, like that. This is the advice that Krishna gives. He says, Sankalpa Prabhavan Kaman. When a person sees some sense object and wants to enjoy it, this gives rise to all kinds of material desires. And the advice he gives is to give up all sense objects. In essence, we must simply close our eyes to all sense objects. We must stop listening. We must stop gratifying our tongue, our nose, to stop all these endless desires. He says. Okay. So basically, as we discussed the other day, that Krishna also says that Tasmatvam Indriyanyado Niyamya Bharata Rishabha. He says that you should start controlling this lust by starting with the senses, by giving Krishna conscious engagement to the senses. So to address lust, he says, start with the senses by giving them favorable engagement, like that. Asheshataha means without end, all these arising desires. Manasaiva Indriya Gramam, with the help of mind, we must master our senses. Viniyamya Samantataha, with the help of intelligence, we must master our mind. Right? Krishna is describing the meditative stage of dharana in yoga. He says that to get rid of kama, we have to give up all sense objects along with the vasanas, all the imprints of pleasure, right? So of course, we cannot give up vasanas just like that, but at least we by constantly engaging our senses in Krishna conscious activities, at least we can create fresh Krishna conscious vasanas on which the mind can dwell, right? So we can recreate some memory. In my mind, I have endless memories of all the pleasures that I carefully stored there. I can look into my memory and see all the things that I have enjoyed, right? I can see all the things that I have enjoyed. That is the vasanas. Therefore, Baladev Vidyabhushan explaining verse 6.24 says that we have to give up all these vasanas with the help of mind. So how do we do that? We can't give up vasanas just like that. We can't give up vasanas just like that. Huh? Okay, I will forget all sense gratification. It's not like that. So we can at least push these vasanas to uh, to the bottom by giving Krishna conscious engagement to the senses, so that the fresher and fresher impressions are all Krishna conscious impressions. So that we push them little more deeper and deeper and deeper like that. He explains we should begin to mentally analyze material enjoyments and think, well, what good are they? So this is using intelligence to control the mind. So analysis and discrimination is the function of intelligence. So one should start analyzing. Okay. So whether it is favorable or not, or how detrimental it is for my Krishna conscious progress. In that way, one controls the mind through the intelligence. Thus, gradually we force our intelligence to meditate on the Atma, the pure soul, which is full of eternity, knowledge, and bliss, taking it away from the meditation on sense objects. Right? So this is very important, he says. In his purport to 6.24, Ramanujacharya explains this point in a very interesting way. Okay, so before we discuss Ramanujacharya's discussion, I'll again pause to see if there are any quick discussion points, comments, questions. You can please raise your hands and we can discuss it for a while. There is just 5 minutes left for today's discussion to end. Any quick comments, discussions before we move ahead? Okay, so I think we will, because it's a very interesting discussion by Ramanujacharya, and it's almost winding up time for most of the devotees. So I won't start this discussion now, but I want to take a couple of minutes to just thank you all for uh, sticking around for almost a year. Of course, some of you have joined little late, but many of you have been there from right from day one, and it was really a very wonderful experience discussing. So today we have completed actually 100 hours of our Manasiksha discussion. So we started 50 weeks back, not 50 weeks back, I think couple of weeks we had to cancel. So exactly almost 52 weeks, 1 year we have spent together. And it was really wonderful experience. And I want to thank you all for sticking around for so long. It's not easy. especially a course like this where the end of the tunnel is not seen at all. So it's very, you don't know when it is going to end. It's like going on and on and on and on like that. So it needs tremendous amount of patience um, and taste actually. So it's very astounding. I can't believe that so many devotees have stuck around for a year. Um, so it's all your glory and glory of Srila Raghunath Das Goswami and Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur and Srila Shivaram Swami Maharaj, Srila Bhakti Vigyan Maharaj, Srila Satyanandan Maharaj, and all these great personalities who have given us so much material to discuss and churn. So I want to thank you all very much. So this is really amazing that for an online course, someone could attend for 100 hours. I mean, it's something really I'm still not able to believe. So you all must be very special souls. So I want to thank you all very much. So I'm guessing maybe at this pace, maybe it may take another one more year to complete Manasiksha. So I hope um, you would you all would stick around till for one more year also, and then further maybe after Manasiksha we may start some other book. So hopefully this will continue. So I want to again thank you very much. So please fix your Tuesday evening schedules for the coming year also, so that we can continue this discussion. And then further, um, maybe for the subsequent books also. So, so for those of you who may not be aware, uh, so Tuesday evenings we have been discussing Manasiksha. Wednesday evenings for the last 10 weeks or so, we have been discussing Harinam Chintamani. I'm sure most of you are aware of that. So Harinam Chintamani. And now Wednesday afternoons, we have just started Sri Chaitanya Shikshamrita also. So just for your information, just in case if someone has time and interest, you could join those sessions also. So again, thank you very much, and we'll meet next Tuesday hopefully. Krishna willing, we'll meet, and then we'll continue further also. So thank you all very much for your patience and enthusiasm, utsahan, nischayat, dhairyat. So thank you. So we will meet next Tuesday. Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Srila Raghunath Das Goswami Pad ki jai, Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur ki jai, Vartaman Acharya Vrinda ki jai, Vancha Kalpatarubhya Kripa Sindhubhya Vacha Patitanam Pavnebhyo Vaishnavibhyo Namo Namaha. Hare Krishna. Thank you all very much.